Hello. In last week's portion, Jacob and his entire family of 70 moved to Egypt because of the famine. They were invited by Joseph, now viceroy of Egypt. Joseph tells them, quote, "It is now 2 years that there has been a famine in this land, and there are still 5 years to come in which there shall be no yield from tilling." Unquote. This week's portion, Vayechi, opens with, Jacob lived 17 years in the land of Egypt. So, Jacob lived in Egypt for 12 years after the famine, and his clan stayed in Egypt after he died. Why did they? Why didn't Jacob and his family go back to Israel, where presumably God wanted them to live? 7 reasons have been advanced. First, because they were waiting for God to take them out. Jacob at first hesitated about going to Egypt. The Midrash says he was thinking, quote, "Can I forsake the land of my fathers, the land of my birth, the land of the sojournings of my fathers, the land where the Shekhinah of the Holy One, blessed be He, is in its midst, and go to an unclean land where there is no fear of heaven?" Unquote. But God not only reassured him, but said that He would bring him back. From Genesis, quote, "God called to Israel in a vision by night, 'Jacob, Jacob.' He answered, 'Here I am.' And He said, 'I am God, the God of your father. Do not fear going down to Egypt, because there I will make you into a great nation. I myself will go down with you to Egypt, and I myself will also bring you back. And Joseph's hand shall close your eyes.'" Unquote. However, his last comment seems to apply to Jacob's remains, not to him and his clan while living. Also, why could they not become a great nation in their own homelands? Because remaining in Egypt was necessary to enjoy the safety needed to become a great nation. And to appreciate something, in this case freedom, you have to lose it and then reacquire it. Second, because God commanded them to stay in Egypt. Abravanel argues that Jacob stayed in Egypt after the famine because God commanded him to do so. But the text says that God only allowed him to go, at most encouraged him, but did not command him. Third, because the Egyptians would not let them return. Joseph was too precious to them, and Jacob wanted a united Israel. Even to go bury his father in Israel, Joseph had to get Pharaoh's permission. As the Torah says in Genesis, quote, "Joseph spoke to Pharaoh's court, saying, 'Do me this favor and intercede on my behalf with Pharaoh. My father made me swear, saying, I'm about to die. Be sure to bury me in the grave which I made ready for myself in the land of Canaan. Now, therefore, let me go up and bury my father. Then I shall return.' And Pharaoh said, 'Go up and bury your father, as he made you promise on oath.'" Unquote. Pharaoh then sends a large delegation with Joseph, probably to ensure he would return. Quote, "Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the officials of Pharaoh, the senior members of his court, and all of Egypt's dignitaries. However, the children have to stay back in Egypt, perhaps as hostages. Quote, "Their children, their flocks, and their herds were left in the region of Goshen." Unquote. Fourth, because they could no longer travel as a group. When the Jews could have left, they had grown so numerous that they could not travel as a group. Even the original family of 70 had to wait for Joseph to help. Joseph gave his brothers wagons and supplies and instructed them not to even bring their belongings. Joseph told his brothers, "Take from the land of Egypt wagons for your children and your wives and bring your father here. And never mind your belongings, for the best of all the land of Egypt shall be yours." The sons of Israel did so. Joseph gave them wagons as Pharaoh had commanded, and he supplied them with provisions for the journey. Unquote. But could they not go back as individual families? No, because Jacob wanted the Israelites to remain united. Fifth, because Jacob thought the time for slavery had come. Jacob was no doubt aware that God had told his grandfather Abraham, quote, "Know for certain that your offspring will be strangers in a strange land, and will be enslaved and afflicted for 400 years. But know with equal certainty that I will judge the nation that enslaved them, and that afterwards they will leave with great substance. Unquote. He also knew God did not say it was punishment for anything. So he concluded slavery was necessary to God's plan, and he might as well get it over with. What reasons might have come to his mind? First, protection. In the land of Israel, Jacob's clan was an easy target for neighbors. In Egypt, a superpower protected the Jews, albeit to exploit them. Second, building large numbers in safety. If 210 years equal 10 generations, and if numbers double with each generation, assuming 4 children per couple, the original number will be multiplied 1,000-fold. 2 to the 10 is 1,024. Third, building up identity and community spirit. All Jews were in the same boat and followed the same customs. The Midrash says that all the Jews deserved redemption from Egypt because they kept their distinct names, dress, food, and language. Fourth, minimizing contact with the outside world. Such contact might have led to idolatry and other practices later forbidden by the Torah. Fourth, eliminating the possibility of intermarriage. Egyptians wouldn't want to marry slaves, and Israelite women raped by Egyptians would raise their children as Israelites. Sixth, creating a scenario that allowed God to show the Jews and the whole world that he was in charge, with miracles and wonders that make a big impression. Seventh, creating feelings of gratitude that would make it easier for the Jews to accept the Torah. Eighth, and last, creating a slave mentality that would make it easier for the Jews to accept the Torah. Indeed, after being a slave for so many generations, the first instinctive response when given a command is to say, "Yes, sir." However, once they accepted the Torah, the slave mentality became a burden. So God waited until the generation of the Exodus died out in the desert before letting their progeny in the promised land. Sixth, because of the danger of intermarriage. Sforno argues that "I am the God of your father" means "I am the God who told your father not to go to Egypt, yet I'm telling you to go." God was telling him, if you remain here, your offspring will intermarry with the Canaanites. This will not happen in Egypt because the populace will not even eat with the Hebrews. Indeed, the Torah says the Egyptians could not dine with the Hebrews since that would be abhorrent to them. And finally, they were too comfortable in Egypt. They felt comfortable until it was too late. The same happened to the Jews of Europe, Babylonians, of the diaspora in general. Even 4/5 of the Jews of Egypt refused to follow Moses in the Exodus, according to the Midrash, even though they were enslaved. And 4/5 of the Jews remained in Babylonia when permission was given to go back to Israel. They were born there, they were used to the place and to their condition, and wanted to stay. Changes are hard. Herzl's most difficult battles were with the Jews who were too assimilated to embrace his dream of a revived homeland in Eretz Israel. He wrote, quote, "Even the Jew haters have more respect for the Zionists than do other Jews." About Jacob's death and burial, the Torah says, quote, "And when the time approached for Israel to die, he summoned his son Joseph and said to him, 'Do me this favor, please do not bury me in Egypt. When I lie down with my fathers, carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burial place.' He replied, 'I will do as you have spoken.'" Why did Jacob want to be buried in Israel? Let's begin with the prophecy of Ezekiel. Quote, "Thus said the Lord God, I'm going to open your graves and lift you out of the graves, O my people, and bring you to the land of Israel. I will put my breath into you, and you shall live again, and I will set you upon your own soil." Unquote. The sources add that the dead in Israel will first be resurrected and enjoy the Messianic age. The others have to roll or tunnel underground to Israel. The Midrash says, quote, "Our sages said that there were 2 reasons why the patriarchs longed to be buried in the land of Israel. The dead in the land of Israel would be the first to be resurrected in the Messianic age, and they would be the first to enjoy the years brought by the Messiah. The Zohar says, we have learned that all the dead in the land of Israel will be resurrected first, because the Holy One, blessed be He, will arouse them and revive them. This is because the Spirit of life dwells only in the Holy Land of Israel. The bodies of those outside the land will be created, but they will be resurrected as a body with no spirit. Thereafter, they will roll under the soil until they reach the land of Israel, where they will receive a soil. The Talmud says, the righteous outside of Eretz Israel will be resurrected and roll until they reach Eretz Israel. Rabbi Abba Sal Rava strongly objects to this. Rolling entails suffering for the righteous. Abaye said, tunnels are prepared for them in the grounds. Karna says, our patriarch Jacob knew that he was completely righteous and that the dead outside of Eretz Israel are resurrected anyway. So why did he trouble his sons to bury him in Eretz Israel? Because he thought he may not be worthy of the tunnels, however righteous he may be. Unquote. This explains why a lot of Jews want to be buried in Israel, even if they don't live there. Not all sages in the Talmud were sympathetic with that practice. Quote, Rabbi Bar Kiri and Rabbi Elazar were strolling in Istrina, and they saw coffins arriving in the land of Israel from the diaspora. Rabbi Bar Kiri said to Rabbi Elazar, what are they achieving? I applied to them the verse from the book of Jeremiah, you made my inheritance desolate in your lives, and you came and defiled my land in your deaths. Rabbi Elazar replied, when they arrive in the land of Israel, a clod of earth is placed in the coffin. As it is written, his lands will atone for his people. Unquote. That's from Deuteronomy. Rabbi Elazar's view is the halacha. The lands atones for the people. In fact, a common substitute is to put some earth from Israel in the coffin of a Jew buried outside Israel. Let us conclude with this. A rabbi in the Talmud made this extraordinary claim. Jacob did not die. Quote, Rabbi Yitzhak said to Rav Nachman that Rabbi Yochanan said as follows, our patriarch Jacob did not die. Rav Nachman asked him in surprise, was it for nothing that the eulogizers eulogized him and the embalmers embalmed him and the buriers buried him? Rabbi Yitzhak said to Rav Nachman, I'm interpreting this verse in Jeremiah. Therefore, do not fear, Jacob, my servant, says the Lord, neither be dismayed, Israel, for I will save you from afar, and your seed from the land of their captivity. This verse juxtaposes Jacob to his seed. Just as his seed is alive, so too Jacob himself is alive. Unquote. Jacob was Israel. We, the Jews, are Israel. Israel did not die and will not die. Shabbat shalom.